with Ola speaking tonight, we did do some kilches. We did a lot of teaching together, and when I was in Poland, of course I don't speak Polish very well. I know maybe 50 words that I use in all kinds of combinations as much as possible. But Ola was the translator in the interview room every day. And in many other towns we traveled around, she translated, and so it's kind of a lot of fun when you have a translator instead of being by yourself. And it just reminded me of a couple of funny stories that happened. I don't think I've told these stories before, but sitting here next to you makes me think about it. So one of them was in Kilche. People come, they come for a week at a time, and there was a woman named Yola, and she was from a town called Apola. And so she would come in for interviews, and Ola and I'd be sitting there, and I wanted to try as much as I could to use any Polish that I could. So I'd start out with the Dzień dobry, proszę siadaj, good morning, please sit down. And of course that would be the screeching halt, that would be the end of it. And then she'd come in, and I would always say, Yola from Apola, proszę siadaj. And she would sit down, and then I'd say, so Yola from Apola. Jakie masz pytania? Do you have a question? And of course, if she answered me, Ola would have to translate. So every time she came in, I'd say, Yola from Apola. So now she's there for a couple of weeks, and she leaves Kilche, and she comes, so now she comes back, and so people are coming and going. And this other woman also was there, and she came back. Well, the woman who came back comes in the room. Now it's at the end of the 90 days, and she walks in and she bows, and I say, Yola from Apola, sit down. She sits down. And then I say, do you have a question? Yola from Apola, do you have a question? And I say it 5 times to this woman. And Ola, they're very polite in Poland. Very polite. Like if you say, would you like some chocolate? They always say, oh, no, thank you. You really have to say, please, please. So they're very polite. So after I say, Yola from Apola about 10 times, Ola leans over to me and says, she is not Yola from She is Pasha from Czestochowa. So that was one. I was like, oh my God. And I recognized the woman, but I just get the names crossed. I was like, oh my God. It's so funny. We were laughing so hard. We couldn't even finish the interview. And then another one that was really special. We weren't in the Kilche. We were traveling into another small town. I forget where it was in Poland. And there were probably, I don't know, the retreats were quite large then. So I'd say there may be 35 to 45 people sitting this young Manjajin. And the way you say, just do it in Polish is you say, tylko rób to. Of course, this is a Zen expression, so, tylko rób to. So I have the interview one by one, she's translating. And at the end of each interview, I said to the student, tylko rób to. Well, tylko rób to means just fuck it. So each student, you come in, does the dog have Buddha nature? Who is dragging this corpse around? Whatever it is, right? Mouse eats cat food, and then they would go to leave, and I'm saying to them in Polish, just fuck it, okay? And they're going, is she not saying anything? Too polite. So instead of rupto, I said ripto to each and every student, the whole thing. And they, when it was over, interviews are over. I'm all pleased with myself. The Polish is great. She leans over and says, rupto is do it. Ripto is fuck it. So Ola was telling me after, she said, the students were really talking about it. And I was like, oh, really? And she goes, no, they really liked it. Because hard times in Poland. Good. Just fuck it. We had a lot of fun. We really did, and this is like, to me, this is like where the Dharma friendships are formed. Like these kind of things where you're just practicing together, and yeah. So this is what you're grateful for, and it's interesting about practice. It's like you don't have to. The interesting thing about practice is you don't have to exhaust yourself or go chasing around to try to find how to practice. Everything is always right in front of us, you know. So little things, the little things are the big things, because our life is just this present moment, right? I had a class of college students from Harvard just before you guys came in tonight, and we were talking about that, like how the future exists as a thought in the present moment. So we make that a lot, right? So we spend a lot of our time thinking about tomorrow and next year and later and some days, right? Or we think a lot about the non-existent past, which is like before and would have and could have and should have and, you know, what ifs or whatever. But all of these things exist as a thought in the very present moment that we're in. So it's really interesting, we can't get out of the moment that we're in. So practicing means, rather than sort of leaving it by these hallucinations that we create, to just come back to the moment. And that's how we can find any opportunity, any day, any time to practice. In the small things, like the other day, I was putting the trash out at my house. And as I was putting the trash in the trash can, this thought pops into my head, and it was, how many more times do I get to do this in my life? You know, like you can be grateful for putting out your trash, right? Like Ola was saying in her talk, it doesn't have to be based on some fancy stuff. But it just occurred to me, like, that's actually a privilege to be able to put my trash out. Or pouring yourself a cup of coffee in the morning. We take that stuff for granted, but how many times left do you have to pour yourself that cup of coffee? We don't know. So moment to moment to moment is where our ground is to wake up. Moment to moment to moment is where we can practice, and that's the truth alive in front of us. It's not, we don't have to reach for it. We do, however, have to remember. And I think that's a lot about what our practice is just remembering to wake up. And so if we catch ourselves leaving and making up the non-existent future or the non-existent past or the non-existent I, right? This habit to say I, this fixed concept to a moving, changing thing that has no I, then we just return and we say, oh, remember, oh, wake up, what are you doing now? Just do it. So that's really the beautiful thing. And that's where, that's where the gratitude comes from. It's these little things, because that's all we really have. And when you boil it down a little further, it's seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, feeling. So, that's a gift. And the world needs us all to wake up. There's so much confusion and so much suffering and so much division, and all of it revolves around our erroneous adherence to I, my, me, right? It all revolves around that. So this place where confusion exists is also the same very place where clarity or world peace can arise from. So we want to push away division. We want to push away conflict. We want to push away confusion, because we have this very strong like-dislike mind. And most of us, all of us really, we want all the stuff we like and we don't want all the stuff we don't like. But what happens, of course, is it possible to always get what you like all the time? No. So what happens is we have to learn how to not, cling on to that so much, and one by one, when each thing appears, to see it for what it is. It's just one more thing. And when we can do that, then in that conflict and in that confusion and in this difficulties that we have, that's our opportunity to wake up. And so that's what I really love about practice is we can do it any time, we can do it any place. It's always with us, and all we have to do is remember. And this is the thing, of all the things I know of, I think this is the thing that can help the world the most. Not that there aren't things to do, holding up signs and passing out food and marching for a cause and all the things that we do, they all help. And we can do those too. But I think if each person wakes up and is not attached to this I, my, me, then world peace is possible. So I hope that we can all only go straight, don't know, try, get enlightenment, and save all beings from suffering.